Muted.
for SER. So I think I'm experienced in the solution, and hopefully I can answer your questions regarding the system. But at first, of course, I want to introduce this system itself. Just a few slides up front to give you a process overview, and afterwards I will show you the solution live in my environment here. Okay. Process overview at first. Of course, SER not only provides invoice solution, but also ECM suite, which covers a lot of topics around documents. And I don't want to introduce everything on the slide, but invoice is just one topic. So if there are any other questions regarding the possibilities of our whole solutions, just let me know in the question section. For example, the SAP solutions or the contract management, folder management at all. But now we would like to focus on the invoice solution. Our invoice solution, which is called Doxis4 Invoice Master, is, let's say, or can be divided into three main parts. The first part is, of course, the scan and import channel. So we offer a solution called Doxis4 Capture to scan paper-based invoices, of course, but we can also import electronic invoices, for example, if they are sent via email as a PDF attachment, or if you work together or your customers work together with a scan provider, which gives you the images, and so we can import everything in the process chain. The second main part is the OCR part, the automatic OCR part, where we are able to extract the information from the scanning images automatically and validate them. And the third part, I think that's the main part, is the workflow part, of course, and all the users will be within the workflow part. It's a web-based solution, which is called Doxis4 Invoice Master Control Plus. Underneath everything you see, there's the Doxis4 archive with the SAP archive link interface. Sebastian asked me to give the interface into SAP. So we offer, of course, the standard SAP archive link interface, and we are also certified for this solution. Okay, let's go a little bit more into detail. The three main parts in the whole process chain. Let's start. Hopefully you can see my mouse cursor. Sebastian, can you see my mouse cursor so I can point out some?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay, perfect. So step one, if you have a paper-based invoice, of course you have to scan this paper, and yeah, this is actually no rocket science anymore. So of course you have to open your letter. You have to prepare it for the scanning process, and yes, our solution Doxis4 Capture is able to process mass scanning. So from a small volume to high volume, a few thousand pages a day, so it's no problem. We can scale this. As I already mentioned, besides paper-based input channel, you have also the possibility for email or file import at step one. All images are scanned black and white with a resolution of 300 dots per inch. So that's from our experience, the best resolution for the OCR process. Okay, maybe document separation is also a topic. We use barcode or patch code or separation sheets. Everything is possible to separate the documents from each other so that the OCR process can handle the invoices step by step. So on the second section, the OCR part, the extraction part, if you have a scanned image, of course, you have to convert the image into text information again at step 2. And step 3, we do a classification. So that means the system is capable to also to process not only invoice documents, but the whole inbound process of a company. But in this special topic of invoice, we recognize, okay, it's an invoice, and because of an invoice, we do a special extraction for the invoice process at step 4. So basically, we extract all header data information from an invoice. We extract amounts. We have, of course, validation rules to check or do automatic validations on the image. For example, we can do some let's say law checkings. In Germany, we have a tax law which has to be fulfilled. That means an invoice has to fulfill some special requirements, and our solution can support the customer in checking this law fulfillments. So everything is automatic until this step. And as you can see here, there's a manual validation. That means if in step 4, the system is not able to recognize everything automatically, there will be a manual validation client where your customer has to fill in the missing fields from the extraction to complete the capture process. We already have a connection and interface to SAP at this time. So the OCR process uses, for example, the master data information as well as the purchase order information to match the invoice with the SAP data. So this graphic shows my process for an invoice without a purchase order. I have another slide with the changes for a purchase order in the background, but this one is without a purchase order. If you have a purchase order, there will be, of course, the checkings against the SAP purchase order as well. So at step 5, if everything is collected, all information from the invoice is extracted or manual captured, then everything will be handed over to the workflow part. And of course, everything is stored into the Doxis4 archive from this one. So we have your invoice and you have your metadata information from the capture process, and everything is handed over to the workflow part as a third big part. At step 6, we have some sort of routing process. This step can be done manually or automatically. Automatically means we provide a rule set. For example, if you have different cost centers, different accounts, suppliers, and so on, you can build a rule set, and the workflow will use this information for automatic routing to the responsible person within the workflow. And of course, it's also possible to do it manually. So your customer has to set up this this rule set. I can show you some examples later on, and then everything can be done automatically. So at step 7, usually you have in your invoice process an approval or check step. That means someone has to look at the invoice and has to look for is it correct or is it not correct? Do I have to recheck this invoice? And if everything is fine, the next step will be, for example, an approval step. That means some responsible person, maybe for the cost center, or someone is responsible because of the amount. Maybe there are some amount limits, so that a supervisor is responsible for invoices about 10,000 euro or something like this. You can use this amount limit and can route this invoice process directly to him as well. So both check and approval are, of course, a 4 eyes check based. So that means the system will control if at least 4 eyes will have seen the invoice. And at step 9, after everything is approved, everything is fine, the invoice can be posted. You can do the posting process automatically, or you can do it manually as well. It depends. Some customers want the invoices be posted automatically because they say, okay, everything is approved. I don't want to see this invoice anymore, so you can post it. Some of our customers say, okay, I'm the responsible accountant and I want to have the final check on the invoice before I post it to the SAP system. So it's up to them. It's no problem to change the process in this case. So yeah, everything is fine in the end. Okay. Also important for the last part, you see the arrow on the bottom here. Everything within the workflow will be written down in a protocol, so that afterwards you can see what happened within the workflow, who approved the invoice, who posted the invoice, and yeah, so everything will be transparent in the end. And of course, the second arrow here means there's a connection to the SAP system where all the posting information, the posting data will be handed over to SAP. And if there's an SAP document created, the process will link this document or will link the scanned document, the archive document, to this SAP document as well, so that an accountant who is logged on in his SAP system can directly access the archive document through SAP. So as I already mentioned, we support the standard archive link interface for optical archive in the end. Okay, a small change, let's say, regarding the invoices with a purchase order in the background. Basically, the process is the same as an invoice without a purchase order, but because there's a purchase order in SAP in the background, we can automatically check the purchase order and do a 3-way match against the purchase order in SAP and, of course, the goods received. And if everything is fine, the purchase order and the goods received, we can directly post this invoice without any human interaction. If you want, if your customer says no, I don't want an automated posting in the end, of course we can hand over the last step to the accountant. That's no problem. But if your customer says we want to automate the whole process, if possible, we can do so. Okay. If you have any questions to the process, just give me a question later on in the question part. But for now, let's head over to the live demo. So now we are on my playground, let's say, and maybe some information at first. I will start with the scan part to show you the first step. Then I will go over to the second part, to extraction. And in the end, I will show you the workflow part. So let's start with the scan part first. I opened the scan client, Doxis4 Capture. This is our scanning solution for a mass scanning scenario. And I will scan a new batch of documents now to process it within our invoice solution. At first, you will get this batch dialog. You have to make your document batch ready for scanning. Just imagine the scanning device next to my computer, and I will simulate this one. I will scan an invoice. Let's take 2 invoices. Scanning, and here we go, 2 invoices, which are automatically separated because of the barcode information. This can be a barcode sticker, for example, or as I already mentioned, also a separation sheet, or fixed pages, of course, is also possible. All right, the scan operator can change the pages. If something went wrong, he can do the scanning again. He can, of course, rotate the image if necessary. We also use virtual rescan or support virtual rescan to get a better quality of images. This image quality is very important for the whole OCR process. If you have a bad quality of images, you will get a bad OCR result, and you have to do a lot of manual work to get this right afterwards. So, good quality, garbage in, garbage out. Good quality is the basic important stuff. All right, let's close the batch. The scanning is over. You can import invoices as well. But I think, or I thought that the scanning process is much more interesting for you. So I choose the scanning device. Okay, so we already got the first step, the scanning part. Now I open up the batch manager, which is some sort of administration client. Not all users will see this administration client, but the administrators have to do it. You can follow the whole batch through the capture process via this client. So in the background, let's head over to the slide again. In the background, we did the scanning, and in the background, the OCR is done, the classification is done, and the extraction is done automatically. And I will show you the result, the OCR result, within our manual validation client. So let's open up. You see here, I can zoom in. We are already at the Q step validation. Status is ready. So let's have a look what happened to this invoice, to this batch within the OCR part. All right, we see on the left side the extracted invoice information. On the right side, you see the viewer. if you want, you can float the viewer if you work with 2 screens, so no problem. We see on the left side the whole information about supplier, about recipients, amounts, and so on. And the client supports the user within the capture process. So everything which is checked and the system is sure that it's correct, then the information is marked green, like you can see here on the supplier. And if a field is missing, like the invoice number in this case, then this field is marked red, and the client will set the focus on this field. You will see it on the second screen. So the system or the client jumps from missing field to missing field to make the capture process faster and easier for the user. So let's explain the mask a little bit. We have, let's zoom in on the upper part. We have the supplier section. Our OCR system does a matching between your master data information and the OCR text result on the image, and will recognize automatically the supplier information and will fill in the correct supplier. The same with the invoice recipient. And it's important to know that our solution is a free-form technology. So that means you don't have to learn every supplier layout, invoice layout. The system has 2 steps of recognition. The first step is a generic step. That means the system is capable to process invoices out of the box with generic methods. So if we install a new system, we can start scanning from the start and process it. And this is step 1, the generic methods of recognition. And there's a step 2, which is the supplier-specific information. If, like in this example, the invoice number is missing, the user can use his mouse and use the OCR result. You can go on the viewer part and say, okay, we have to fill in the invoice number. Just point and click on the invoice number to fill in the missing information. And as you can see here, it's already marked green, so it's a manual capturing of the user. And if this happens with the supplier every time, you can learn this information. This is the second step of recognition, or second level, let's say. You can you fill in the missing information from the viewer part. You press this learning button. You can press it anytime during the validation process, but you have to press it in the end. So that means for the system, I have to save the information, the capturing information, and learn it for this supplier. So if the system can then learn this information, and if the next image, the next invoice from this supplier will come, the system can use this learning information to get a better extraction rate, and will be able to fill in the invoice number by itself. It will take, I think, 2 to 3 examples of learning, and then the customer can get a better result on this supplier. And this is something your customer can do by himself. So this learning process is very easy, and yes, the customer can increase his extraction results by using the learning methods. Okay, let's go through the whole mask again. Maybe some information about the how the generic methods work. If you have a look at the invoice date, for example, let's zoom in on the invoice. The invoice date has a pattern, let's say, and we use regular expressions, for example, to recognize this pattern. In this case, we have 2 digits, point, 2 digits, point, and 4 digits. And if you look at the image, you will have at least 2 informations which match this pattern, the delivery date and the invoice date, and maybe you have some date information on the line items as well. So you have these candidates for a date, and this pattern combined with a phrase upfront, like delivery date or invoice date. This combination tells the system, okay, this is the invoice date, this is a delivery date, and so on. And so it doesn't matter if the invoice information is on the top, on the left, on the right. The system will find this pattern, will use the combination with a phrase, and will classify this information as an invoice date or delivery date. So this is just an example how the extraction works. Okay, let's go through. Invoice date, everything is green, very good. We have some information like the terms of payment. This information comes from the master data, so just an information. It's not extracted from the invoice. Sometimes the customer asks us if we can extract this from the invoice. This is a hot topic, a complex topic. So we can give some hints, maybe check the terms of payment again, but basically we use in this, at least in the standard solution, we use it from the master data. Okay, let's have a look at the message box here. We use the message box to show some validation rules. If, for example, in this case, there's an invalid format of the text number. So we can check this. We can also check for like the delivery date, if the bank account information is on the invoice. This is a part of our complex validation rule set, let's say. And we can activate validations, and we can also deactivate validations if you don't need them. Let's check them. Let's go to the amount part. As a standard function, or within the standard function, we extract the header amounts separated by the text code. That means if you have, in this case, and let's zoom in and maybe I can highlight some of the information. Let's take the first column here. The first column are the net amounts divided by the tax. So in this case, you have 1,000 euro and 24.22 for 7%, and this is the tax amount. And on the third line, we have 3,000 euro net amount, 19% tax, and this is the tax amount. This sums up to whole total net amount and total tax amount and total gross amount with the currency at the end. If you have some packaging costs, you can add them in this field here, or postage, or if you have some discount information, you can fill in this information right here. These amounts are checked. For example, if I change the 1024 to 20, the system calculates the sums of net amount, tax amount, and gross amount. And if it doesn't fit, it's marked red, and you will get this information on the button line. So something is wrong, the amounts are wrong. Please check. I will check it again, validate, and everything should be green again. Okay, so this invoice is completely captured, and we can go to the next invoice. Save the document, yes. And as you can see here, this is the same supplier. We have to fill in the invoice number, point and click. We have to check the warnings, the amounts. There are different possible results. Okay, this shows if the combination of net amount, tax amount, and gross amount is not unique, then the system will ask for user interaction to confirm this extraction. But I can click on this field. It will be highlighted on the image as well, so you can see, okay, the system took this information from this point. It looks good. So €4.56, it's fine. Just validate this information. The same on the second line, 19%, looks good, and we can check it. This is the end of the capturing process. All documents are validated, manual captured, or already automatically captured. So an important information is the validation client will only be shown if there are missing fields. If everything is fine, the system will hand over the invoice directly to the workflow. So the validation client is only necessary if you have to correct fields, if you have to learn if a validation rule failed or something like this. Only in this case you have to do the correction. Okay. Let's go to the last part, to the workflow part, part 3. We have a web-based solution, Doxis Invoice Master Control Plus. Doxis Invoice Master Control Plus is integrated in our standard web client. It's called Doxis4 Webcube. It's some sort of add-in for this web client, and it contains some special extensions for the invoice process. So that means you are able not only to process invoices, but also other documents within your company. So you only have one client for workflow and archive and document management. Let's log on. Okay, my demo user is an accountant, and as an accountant, I start with the invoice ledger. That means I can have a look at the invoices right from the start. But you can also choose other starting points if you want. If you don't have this invoice ledger open, then you will see the blank screen at the start, and our Webcube client presents the search dialog, filing environments, and work basket at the top. And if you click on this entry, you will get the search dialogs. And let's go to the invoice ledger again. As an accountant, I want to have the complete overview about the invoices within the system, and I want to see what my company has to pay. So we have all these fields to make a selection, to filter the incoming invoices. I will use a wildcard search right now to show some examples. And as you can see here, all invoices within the system are shown. And let's zoom in a little bit to explain the result list. Okay, we can see here a process ID. Every entry is an invoice. We will get all informations which are extracted in the OCR part before. You see which workflow step the invoice is at this column. You see here's a review, here's an approval, here's an accounting step, and so on. So you get an overview where the invoices are right now, and on the next column, who's the responsible user for this invoice in this case. So the EM accounting is a group, the accounting group. We distinguish between group-based work baskets and user-based work baskets. So you can work as a whole group on your invoice pool, or you can use users, of course. Let's go on, and we have the invoice number, we have vendor information, we have the amounts right here. So every information which is captured before will be shown here, and also the discount information. So if there's a discount, the system will calculate the discount dates, so you can see how much time you have to process this invoice until you will lose your discount rate. And the color information right here, green means everything is fine. You are within the discount time, and yellow means, okay, you have to hurry up. Your discount is in danger. And there's also a red color, which means, okay, your discount is lost. So as an accountant, you see, you have a quick overview about the invoices within your system. Of course, you can filter every information. Let's zoom in on the filter criteria right here. You can manage different companies divided by company code. For example, you can look for special vendors for the amounts of an invoice. You can have a look at the company recipients. Maybe you want to process the different invoices of the company in different company codes, and you can use the company codes as an access right to invoices. So you can give company code 1000 to user 1 and company code 2000 to user 2, for example. So on the next column, you have process information. You can separate the invoice by the responsible person, work basket. You can look for special tasks. Let's zoom out on this case. And you can have a look. Please show me all invoices which are in an approval step, for example. So I can have a look. Okay, here in my demo system, I have 2 invoices right now at the approval step, and the assigned user is some sort of supervisor. It's a German word, Abteilungsleiter. Okay, let's go back and show the whole invoice amount again. And let's start with the first step. As you can see, I will use the first entry, the first invoice, as an example for our demo right now. Let's open up this invoice. And we will have the mask, the invoice mask here. And all informations about the invoice will be filled in here. All informations which are captured from the OCR process will be on the invoice mask here. We have the viewer part on the right, the information on the left, and we divided the whole mask into different sections. Some sections are open, some sections are closed to save some space, to give a better overview. Let's start on the top. On the top, you will get important information about the task you have to do right now. There will be also a message box which shows some information. The workflow itself is also capable to do some validation checks. And if the workflow finds some validation rules which are not fulfilled, then this information will be shown in this message box right here. Okay, we have some warnings. That's not that important. We have to confirm the document type, and we've found out that the identification number of the vendor was not found right here. So we have to check it, and in some cases it is necessary to send the invoice back because of the not fulfilled rule set here. Okay, let's go on. The header data information, like the supplier, like invoice number and so on, you will find here. The recipient information is hidden right now to save some space. We have the vendor information. If you have to change the vendor information or the recipient information right here, you can use this helper function. Just click on this scan icon here, and you see this is Louis' bike part, but you can also look for more than just one supplier, of course. You can search for the supplier information and can choose the supplier. For example, if you're looking for Wesson, you can start searching and it will show it, the supplier, you can choose it. But in this case, Louis' bike part was the correct vendor, so I won't change anything. Then you will see the amount information right here, terms of payment again, some ERP settings, which has a technical background, and on the bottom you have the invoice line items divided by the tax code. As you can see here, I will zoom in. You have 7% tax, 90%. These are the German tax rates. Of course, we have to change the tax rates in Spain or Italy. This is no problem. And the accountant, if he wants, can enter the allocation information like cost center, like account information. Maybe you will leave some description here. He can use the unit price. You can change it. You can work with quantity and unit price to calculate the total. If he doesn't want to use quantity information, he just can use the calculation with one, of course. And if you have some other allocation methods, like order, internal order or something, we can adjust this allocation lines here and can give some extra fields for the allocation information. Okay, let's fill in some allocation. I can, of course, if I know the cost center, I can type in the cost center information or the account information, or I can use again the helper function and can say, okay, I want account number, I want another cost center, 3000, I want to use the allocation. and now I'm finished. Of course, you can leave the accounting information later on, but if you do it upfront and you have some sort of rule set which uses this information, like cost center or at least supplier, you have to fill in this information. Okay. On the top, you have the decisions you can do. It looks well at the moment, so I can say everything is validated. If I see I'm an accountant, I have the possibility to say, okay, this invoice is not correct or is wrong. I can send it to the waste basket, of course, or I say, okay, this one is validated and it will go to the next process steps. And in my demo system, the standard rule set will look at the cost center information and will look for the responsible persons of cost center 1000 and 3000 and will send this invoice directly to these users. Okay, then I say validated, and I have done my work right here. We have process ID 51. Maybe I should filter on this one so that we can follow this case. I will refresh the page over and over again. At the moment, the automatic processes in the background are running, so hopefully the invoice will send to the responsible persons. Creating some review approval tasks right now. System is working. Take some seconds. And here we go. The system created some new tasks for the users because of the rule set in the background. So let's have a look what happened. Now we have 3 tasks for this invoice. We have a review task or 2 review tasks with different users behind it because they are responsible for the cost center. And we have an approval step where a responsible user like a supervisor is in charge because of the amount, or maybe he is also in charge of the cost center, depends on your rule set. But as you can see here in front, there's a small clock in the sign. That means this process step is waiting until the review of the other 2 guys is finished. Makes sense because the supervisor doesn't want to make the approval step before the review is done, is finished. So he doesn't want to do additional work, of course. So let's see how the users will see the whole process. I changed my login to the first responsible user, which has to do the review. And he starts at the blank screen. He can have a look at his work basket. Of course, we can activate the automatic notification for his work basket. So he will get an email if he will get an invoice process in his work basket. So he doesn't have to look all the time if a new process is in his work basket. So let's have a look at the open task here. As you can see here, he only has 1 line. I can zoom in again. He only has 1 line left, but we had 2 lines before. Why is that? Because the system is able to give a parallel process or to work with parallel process steps. So this guy is only responsible for the cost center 1000, and so he only sees this invoice line. He can change this selection to show me all invoice lines, and he will see the missing line as well, but he's not responsible for this one. So if he says on the top, I have reviewed this invoice, I have checked it, everything is fine, he will give his okay only for the first line, of course. So, okay, let's have a look. If everything is fine on the invoice, yes, you can zoom in if you want, of course. And yes, we can do the check. He can also reject this invoice. If he rejects this invoice, he has to leave a comment, a reason why he rejected this invoice. So in this case, the invoice will go to back to the accountant, and the accountant has to make a choice. What are the next steps then? Maybe he will reject the invoice and send a rejection letter to the supplier. Okay, let's say this one is reviewed. This one is fine. I want to show you some sort of happy flow, so everything is fine here. He can also use the note function. We have some notification function here, or comment function, let's say. He can say everything is okay if you want. We can apply, and so we can leave some information. Not only everything is okay, but maybe he has some information for his colleagues, which are important for the invoice process. So he can leave a note here, and as you can see, every information, like who did the comment and when, the time information is saved as well. So I can save this. Let's go back and to the overview and say, okay, this one is reviewed. And now this invoice will disappear from his work basket. Okay, let's close. Let's go to the second guy who's responsible. Let's do it a little bit faster because he has the same steps to do. And now this guy sees the second line, cost center 3000. He is responsible for this one. And let's say reviewed. And he is finished now. Let's go to the approver. The approver is some sort of supervisor. He is maybe he is responsible for more than one cost center, and that's why he will see both lines, as you can see here. And yes, he can have a look at the comment section. His colleagues say everything is fine, perfect, and he can say let's approve this one. And now everything is done. Weekend. Let's change the login to the accountant, back to the accountant. Some wrong spelling here. Maybe some information about the login process. Of course, we can use single sign-on techniques as well. I use this manual login just because of the different demo users. So the users don't have to log in every time. We support the single sign-on technologies, so don't worry about that. Okay, I'm an accountant, back to work, and let's have a look what happened to our process. Let's filter for our process again. And it looks like our process is back in the last step, in the manual posting step. Maybe you can remember at my slides, I already said that of course, we can hand over the information, the posting directly if everything is already checked. But in this case, I will show you the manual posting process that is different from customer to customer, what he wants to do in this step. So let's open this invoice, have a final look if everything is fine. Let's have a look at the line items. The icon in front is now green, so everything looks good. We can have a look at the results of review and the approval. Everything is confirmed. We can do the check for every line if you want, but at this step, actually everything is done. So this invoice is fine. And if I press the post it button, the system will hand over this invoice to SAP. It will create an SAP posting, an SAP document, will create the protocol information, and will link this information directly to the SAP document, so that a user who is working with SAP can access the document directly from SAP. So let's do the posting. So this is done. I can refresh. So some work is done in the background, and yes, the invoice is processed. This was an example, quick example of an let's say happy flow of an invoice. Everything is fine. Of course, if you have to reject an invoice, you can create a rejection letter. Let's show you some possibilities in this area. Refresh here. If you click, for example, on this review, let's take this one as an example. You have the possibility at the section attachment list here. At the moment, here's only the invoice, but you can create a new document and you can upload by drag and drop a new file, and maybe you create a rejection letter or you do it via email. So if you have some additional information which are important for the process, you can upload this information to this workflow, and yes, the workflow will be the reference, and the other users can have a look at it as well. Okay, let's close the invoice. At the end, maybe some information about the technical architecture in the background. Let's head back to the slides. Let's have a look at the architecture graphic. And as I already said, we have mainly three parts, almost the same in the architecture part. We have on the left side, we have on the left side the capture process. We have our Doxis4 capture platform, which provides the scanning infrastructure. In this case, this is the server information. And the capture platform is also necessary for what we call Doxis4 Invoice Master Read. This is our template, OCR template, to process invoices. So as I already mentioned, our platform is capable not only to process invoices, but also all other types of documents. If your customer wants to start with an invoice process and later on he wants to extend the solution, he can do it and process other document types as well. in the middle part, you see the whole workflow and archive structure. The Doxis4 Content Service Bus is our main server, which runs the important services like the archive service, like the business process management service. So this is the workflow part. He provides the running environment for the agent services. The agent services are jobs, server jobs in the background, which run automatically. They are triggered by events, or they are triggered by the other components like the invoice master, and the agents are doing all the automatic stuff in the background. And if you have a connection to SAP, you have to use the HTTP content server. This is our SAP Archive Link connection interface. On the top of that, because I presented you a web interface, we have to use our web client, and the Invoice Master Control Plus, which I have shown you, is some sort of extension and add-in for this web client. On the right part, you see also an important component. This is the Doxis4 ERP connection service. It's important to know that we use this ERP interface. We took all the logic functionality, let's say the interface functionality. We separated it from the this business logic from the workflow logic. So this gives us the chance to do updates without doing a whole new project, because we don't change the invoice master mask and logic behind. We change the ERP interfaces, the function we need. So the invoice master control uses the function within the Doxis4 ERP connection service for getting information from the ERP system like SAP, like Navision, like any other ERP system, as you can see here. In a special case of SAP, we have some sort of SAP package. This is a transport package with function modules used in SAP. And yes, this is something your customer has to install on his SAP system, and the ERP connection service will call this function modules. But basically, this connection service gives you the possibility to interact with any ERP system which are on the market. So this is generic, and the SER will provide more and more templates, interface templates for this connection service. So which makes it easier in the future to connect more and more ERP systems automatically out of the box. Okay, I think we have to look at the time. Let's go to the last part, our question round. I think